There's something magical about the bond between a human and their dog. It's a connection built on love, loyalty, and those unspoken moments that touch our hearts forever. Welcome to A Dog's Devotion, a podcast that celebrates the incredible ways dogs change our lives and sometimes even save them. Hi, I'm Carla Basagi, and in each episode we'll share powerful, heartfelt stories of dogs who have rescued their humans just as much as they've been rescued themselves. From acts of bravery to the quiet, everyday love that heals, these stories will make you laugh, cry, and even appreciate your furry best friend even more, if that is at all possible. Do you have a story that you'd like to share? I'd love to hear it. Join us on A Dog's Devotion, because every dog has a story, and every story deserves to be told. Welcome back to A Dog's Devotion, the podcast where we celebrate the unbreakable bond between dogs and their humans. I'm your host, Carla Basaki, and today I'm thrilled, because I love his photos so much, to introduce a very special guest whose work captures that connection in the most breathtaking way. John Fabino is a world-famous dog photographer whose lens has taken him literally across the globe, from Greenland to India to Costa Rica. Now he's in the Netherlands and every place in between, capturing the spirit and soul and beauty of dogs from every walk of life. In 2024, his passion and artistry were recognized when he was named Documentary Dog Photographer of the Year for an image called Greenlandic Flat Tire, which I will show you and we'll talk about it because it's pretty cool. From street dogs in India to pampered pups in Paris, John's photographs they honor the devotion, resilience, and love that dogs give so freely. So get ready for an inspiring conversation about the dogs behind the camera, the unforgettable journeys, and the magic of seeing the world through eyes of a man's best friend. John, thank you for joining me.
Speaking with another dog lover.
How could you not be a dog lover? My goodness.
It's a very good question. When I cross paths with someone who's not.
I know. So being a dog lover, have you always been a dog lover? And is that why you decided to get into taking photos of dogs?
Yeah, it's I guess you could call it a love or an obsession. Yeah. Ever since our family dogs growing up, they were always my fascination.
Right.
Absolutely love being around the dog and the companionship and the company that they bring.
Yeah, there's nothing like it, is there?
It's the best. It's unwavering. It's just nonstop, over the top at times. The dogs are the ultimate companion, and nothing comes close for me.
I agree. In your years of taking photos of dogs, is there a specific moment or dog that really stands out?
There have been so many of them. I'll say that I'll bring it back that I found really a love for photographing my own dog, Viola, in Costa Rica when we went down together, because it was really her that got me into photographing dogs and sort of found that fascination. I wasn't sure that when I was getting into photography, it was going to be dogs. And then I went and traveled all over and photographed so many dogs in different places. But coming back to her and being with her full time again and just taking her to the beach and getting her back in front of the camera, it was really special. And there's some photos that I took of her that I'll really cherish. Because along with any photo, to have that unique bond with her, I really love it.
So what inspired you then to take your work globally? Because you travel all over.
Mm-hmm. I really had the idea to travel and just take a break from the corporate world, but I needed a bigger plan and a bigger project to work on. Yeah. And once I got the idea of using photography, which I was really interested in, and then marrying it with dogs, which are, as we've said, such an interest and fascination, I could not kick the idea. It was something I felt like I had to do. It wasn't something I wanted to do. I really had to do it. Otherwise, I would have lived with regret, not fulfilling this idea. So I got to the point where I just planned it out for probably a few years and got in a situation where I was ready to go and felt comfortable and took off. And I've been traveling ever since.
And so how long have you been traveling for?
It's been a little over 2 years now.
Okay. Wow. And where do you stay when you travel? Because you travel with your dog. Where do you stay when you travel?
So I actually do not have my dog at the moment.
Okay.
She is back with my parents. I miss her dearly. I will probably be back home in the next few weeks. And then I plan on bringing her over to Europe and hopefully settling down here and calling this home base for a bit. But
Oh, you would?
I've stayed all over the place, from people's houses that have welcomed me in to dingy, cheap hotel rooms to
Yeah.
sleeping outside. It might probably sounds a lot more luxurious on paper than it really has been, but it's part of just making it work, and most of it's self-funded. So kind of doing it on a budget as well.
Well, that's okay. You're doing what you love. This is your passion, right? Your passion project.
Yeah, I've been very happy throughout the entire experience.
I know you have a dog, Viola, and you've taken photos of her, but what's the first photo you took that made you realize that this is what I got to do for a career?
It was one of the first visits I had in Germany. So when I went to Germany, I was focused on photographing German Shepherds. And I visited a woman named Agathe Rank. She has a kennel called Nagler Say Kennels. And at the time, she had 10 German Shepherds,
Wow.
and it was 10 adult or 5 adults and 5 puppies. And when we call it a kennel, it was really, she was just had these dogs in her house. It was chaos. I mean, one German Shepherd can be a lot, and 10
Hmm.
is absolute madness. But I would say, I don't know if it was a particular photograph, but it was that day. It was just like such a wonderful day, and connected with such a dog lover. And Agate and I are still friends. I've visited her a couple times afterwards, and just seeing her appreciation for it and her excitement as I put the photos on my computer and we started going through them. And I'm like, I need all of these. She's like, I need every single photo you took today. When you take photos of dogs, there's a lot of photos that are junk. They're moving dogs, blurry, not in focus,
Yeah.
but she had such an appreciation for what I was doing. And I remember the train ride home. By the train ride, I was going back to Munich in Germany, and just sort of the motivation after that and the excitement that I had connecting with someone like that and having that motivation to continue doing.
It's pretty awesome that you've been doing this for 2 years, but you were named Documentary Dog Photographer of the Year in 2024. So congratulations for that.
Thank you. I'm very much appreciated. It was
Yeah.
quite the surprise for me.
What was that experience like? You were in Greenland. It was freezing. All the dogs, the sled dogs were laying around. It's a great photo.
Yeah, that was probably the most unique experience. I went very northern Greenland. This is towns of, well, the first town I went to had about 40 people. There's not a
Yeah,
car in the town. There's one store about the size of a 7-Eleven, and it's the only place to shop in the town. And these are people that utilize dogs for survival. They use them to
right.
go out hunting. Dogs to them are a way of life. And that shot was taken on about a 6-hour sled ride that was just through the middle of a blizzard. There were 13 dogs pulling our sleds. I could barely see the back of them. There was so much snow coming down. I couldn't talk to my guide because of the language barrier. So at certain points, ropes would get tangled on the dogs, and he would stop and start to untangle them. And that was sort of my chance to say, I have a moment to get some photos. So I kind of ran away from him because I saw the big iceberg behind him, as it was the perfect backdrop, and snapped that photo. And even before it was named the documentary photo of the year, it was really just a special photo for me because it was such a unique life experience to go on that sled ride. And I just remember seeing the small town in the distance and getting there and finishing it. And I was freezing my feet off at the time, but it was something that I will never forget.
Well, what drove you to Greenland in the first place, especially
So
so far up?
yeah, I wanted to see unique relationships that humans have with dogs. So the first place I went was Germany to see people breeding German Shepherds. And then I went to Greenland to see working dogs after. And I wanted an authentic experience. I didn't want to stop in some of the cities further south in Greenland where they do sort of the tours. I wanted to go and see people who are actually utilizing dogs for survival. And seeing the connection that they have with their dogs and the appreciation they have for what they do for them was really special as well. And I was lucky to capture some photos of it.
Yeah, you captured some fabulous photos. I mean, your photos are deeply emotional. They're very expressive. But how do you connect with the dogs that you photograph? Because it's not easy taking a photo of a dog.
Yeah, it's they're not posing. I'm not usually setting them up for a shot. I usually let the dogs just be dogs and try and capture them in a natural environment. If someone wants a photo with their own dog, we can do our best to sort of pose them together in a nice setting. but I usually try not to do that. I want to get them in their actual environment. Sometimes you make a noise or a whistle to get them look your way and get some eye
Mhm.
contact, but I try not to influence it too much. I try and give a look at what that dog's life is really like.
So is that sort of how you gain the trust of the dogs? Because you just meet them essentially, especially those that are in vulnerable or unfamiliar situations.
Yeah, and Carla, you probably know this, that if you go to a dog with openness and kindness, they can usually sense that. And I think I approach every dog like that. I don't run right over and pet them on the head. I let them check me out first, sniff me, I stay calm. All those things that when you've been around dogs your whole life kind of come naturally.
Mhm.
I always try and do that. And I found that dogs will come up and they'll give you their attention when they want to. I was just with some working dogs in Hungary over the weekend who are very protective of their family and the animals that they're protecting. And you got to give them time. But after, a long time of being around them, they recognize this person isn't a threat. And I can go over and stand next to them and they're going to pet my head and I'm going to accept it.
Right. I was going to ask you, Ness, what was the biggest challenge when photographing dogs? Because you've got street dogs, you've got you've been all over different environments, different cultures, So I guess you just being a dog lover, you give dogs their time and they will come to trust you.
Yeah, and you try and figure out what are they doing. You get in the right spot. I have plenty of situations where that come to mind where I realize I missed a shot. I wasn't in the right space at the right time, but that's okay. That's part of the joy. And when you do get a shot that looks good and clean and crisp, and you were in the right place at the right time, it means that much more.
Did you go to school for photography? Like, how did you get into photography?
I didn't. I actually have a law degree and an MBA, so I went way the other direction and and worked in the corporate world. And I guess I just had this creative urge, which photography always kind of pulled me. I took a photography class in high school. It kind of stuck with me.
Hmm.
My father was into photography growing up. He always had a camera with him, so I played around with his film camera growing up. And I think it was something that I just always felt a need to pursue. And then got to COVID hit, and I decided let's buy a camera and actually try this.
Good for you. I'm sure your parents weren't too thrilled when you decided not to follow through on law and go into photography.
Honestly, they've been more excited about it than anything else
Oh,
I've
that's
done in my life.
terrific.
Yeah, they couldn't be more supportive. I guess they just see me going after something that I really love and something that has been a dream of mine, and they couldn't be more supportive or happy for me.
Have you ever had a moment where a dog really surprised you during a shoot?
Let's think. I don't, off the top of my head, no big surprises.
No.
I've had situations where they've been, I would say, not a huge surprise, but situations that were very like heavy or emotional. I think of some of the shelters that I went to and going and trying photographing a dog, and the dog is just so timid and so scared. And I guess that's still a shock to see a dog in that situation. It's really hard. It's not what we know dogs to be. You're usually happy and loving and excited. So to see him so afraid to even come out of a kennel with the people who are loving them and trying to help them and work to find them homes, I guess it's a little bit of a shock because that's just such a different thought of what I know a dog to be.
Hmm.
And I had a few instances of that that were really heavy and really sad.
Yeah, for a dog lover, it's really hard to see that.
Yeah, it really gives me so much admiration for the people who are working in the rescue world because I see some of those situations they have to deal with are really tough. So it's incredible that they're working through them and trying to find happy endings for every single one of those dogs.
Now, you've just mentioned, I mean, through your lens, you've witnessed the deep connection between people and their dogs around the world. Working dogs, rescue dogs, house dogs. How does that bond differ or stay the same across different cultures?
Yeah, it's quite different, especially sometimes working dogs are just seen as tools. They're really out there for someone running a business and they're helping them run their business. So not that there's not a connection there or that they're abusive towards them, but they're not sleeping in bed with their dog or letting it sit on the couch like
Mm.
many people do with their own dogs. So um it's a much different situation. I've saw people who are breeders of purebred dogs, and they love a breed. They might love a Shiba. And some of the breeders that I saw in Japan are really obsessive about a certain breed, and other dogs to them are fine, but not as huge of an interest. There's always, are you a dog lover? Are you a breed lover? Or do you just love your own dog and not like other dogs? But it's definitely varied from, I would say, culture to culture, and then in certain instances, person to person.
So what are these dogs that you've met around the world taught you about humanity?
I like to think that dogs just teach us to live such a full life. I think about it all the time that dogs want to get up and go and do and live every single day. And we could really use them as role models in a lot of instances when it comes to living a full life. And you and I just had mentioned that dogs' lives aren't long enough,
Hmm.
but they pack a lot of life into those short frames. And a lot of times it's as much as we'll allow them, as much as we allow them to go on a walk or go play in the park or play their favorite game with their favorite toy. So I try and think about that and do that as much as possible, even if maybe I'm feeling a little bit sluggish. Get off the couch and take the dog for a walk because, as soon as I say the word walk, she's going to jump off the couch and do it.
Yeah. And now, through the last couple of years, is there a specific dog that you met during your travels that maybe changed your life or your perspective in some way?
Change my perspective. This is it's kind of a simple one, but it's a demeanor of a dog that I met in Costa Rica at a shelter there that was just the most, I felt an instant bond. And I've owned female dogs my entire life. It was this male dog who was so calm, so friendly. And I would go on Fridays and I'd walk the shelter dogs there. And I couldn't believe the instant connection I had with them. I don't think I had ever felt that with a male dog before. Not that just because I'd never owned one,
Right.
but I really found a special bond with him. And I saw he got adopted a few weeks after I left Costa Rica, and I was so happy. I reached out to the people volunteering at the rescue and said somebody got so lucky with that dog. But that was the first one I would say of like a male mate, companion that I met of a dog that I adored that dog. And if I was in the situation, I would have taken him home with me.
Right. But you weren't in the situation where you could have adopted him then.
No, I had my dog Viola with me. She doesn't do great with sharing my attention with any other dog. So
Yeah, I understand that.
she's a bit of a one dog home right now.
So what's next for you? Any upcoming projects or places you're excited to photograph dogs in?
Yeah, I don't have a next country yet. I usually will book a ticket kind of last minute.
Yeah.
The last place I went last weekend was Hungary, which the ticket was booked like about a week before. And I could see myself in the next week or so booking another ticket, just being in Europe right now and having short flights to get to different countries. And then sometimes it's the country comes first, and then I try and dig up a situation or a scenario or a relationship that I'd really like to focus on, and then start reaching out to people before I get there. So if anyone's following along on social media, you might see me in a different country in the next couple of weeks.
Right. Well, I've been following you and I've been seeing where you've been traveling,
Mm.
so I know that's gonna happen. If you could photograph one dog, past or present, who would it be?
Whew, that is a good one.
I know.
I mean, two immediately come to mind. So it's the first two family dogs I had. The first one, Duffy. Duffy was a bit quirky. Duffy ended up biting me through my face. I got my plastic surgery on my lip as a child, which I'm still obsessed with dogs. Usually that'll scare you for life. But for us, it was just like, when do we get the next dog? Duffy we found on the street. She had some aggression problems. Wasn't fit for a family of six or family of eight with six kids, and it wasn't a dog we could keep after an incident like that. I still love Duffy. She was the first dog that I ever knew, first dog we ever had as a family. But then Lola came after, and I think Lola gets the nod because she was, I think, where my obsession, my addiction to dogs really started. I just I wanted to do everything with her. My papers at school, I'd write John and Lola on the top of them. I'd sign my cards, John and Lola. It was a real obsession. She also was just kind of a lazy dog. She'd be easy to photograph. You wouldn't have to worry about her moving around too much. It would be good to snap some photos of the dog that I guess originally made me truly love dogs.
Yeah. And did you get another dog after Lola when you were at home?
Yes, and we had Dina after Lola, and then we had Nola after Dina. So the family dogs just kept coming.
Oh,
If when you have a dog in a home and then if you lose them, there's a space and a void that you
there's an
try and
emptiness,
fill.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I feel like once a dog owner, it's almost always a dog owner because you need that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm going through that right now. You're so used to them sleeping at the foot of your bed, waking up, taking them for a walk, cooking their food, going for evening walks, just snuggling on the couch with them. And then all of a sudden it's dead air. It's like you're just lonely.
Yeah, I remember calling Lola's name a few days after she passed. It was what, probably 12, 13 years old, and it was just such habit to call her at all times in the house because I always wanted her to come and sit, and then it clicked with me. She's not here anymore. It's tough. It's really hard to say goodbye, but I am filled with so many happy memories of my childhood and being around dogs.
That's great. Well, John, it was a pleasure speaking with you. I love your photos.
Thank you. I really appreciate the kind words.
Yeah, no, I can't believe how far you've come in such a short period of time. And I think it's awesome. And continue on your journey of passion, of loving dogs.
Yeah, I will.
You've got the best job in the world.
Yeah, so the love of dogs will never ever go away. That is certainly for sure. And it's wherever life takes me or my career takes me in different ways, I will photograph dogs for the rest of my life.
Well, you keep doing that because I love following you on Instagram.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Carla.
Well, what a beautiful journey we've been on today through the eyes of a man whose camera doesn't just take pictures, but captures the soul of dogs all over the world. A huge thank you to you, John, for sharing your stories. His work reminds us that every dog, whether on a mountaintop, a city street, or in our own backyard, has a story worth telling and a love that knows no borders. To see more of John's breathtaking work, be sure to follow him on Instagram at Wags Around the World. That's all lowercase. And trust me, it's a feed full of heart, hope, and unforgettable dogs. Thanks for listening to A Dog's Devotion. I'm your host, Carla Basaki. Until next time, hug your dog a little tighter. And remember, sometimes we rescue them, but more often than not, they rescue us. Thanks, John. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Carla.
You take care. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.
Thank you so much to my incredible guest for sharing their story today, and thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to our channel so you never miss a moment. And if you have fellow dog lovers in your life, please spread the word and share the love. Here on A Dog's Devotion, we talk about it all, from the heartbreak of losing a beloved companion to the pure joy of welcoming a rescue into your life. Dogs are more than just pets. They're family, they're our healers, they're our best friends. So love them deeply and cherish every single moment. I'm Carla Basaki. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.